Nkechi felt that she was being followed. Filled with terror, she ran home and locked herself in her hut. After a few minutes, Nkechi heard a loud bang on her door, sending shivers down her spine as she feared the evil creature was after her. Nkechi kept silent as the banging continued for a few minutes and then stopped. Still shaking with fear, Nkechi remained in her hut when she suddenly heard a voice behind her. Once upon a time, in the bustling Iken market lived a well-known hair braider who was referred to as the silent braider. The villagers arrived at the market one morning and found her seated in a corner braiding a woman's hair. They were all astonished because no one in the village had ever seen her before. However, the woman never spoke a word to anyone, so the people called her the silent braider, believing she was deaf and mute. Surprisingly, on her first day at the market, several women stood in a long line, waiting to get their hair braided by the mysterious woman. She braided their hair so beautifully that her unique style attracted even more women to her little corner. The other hair braiders in the village became extremely jealous as their customers no longer came to them for braiding. Everyone preferred to braid their hair with the silent braider despite the long waits, which made the other braiders curious about who the silent braider was and where she came from. One day, a hair braider named Ada decided to stay back late into the night to follow the silent braider to her hut. Ada was eager to discover the identity and residence of the silent braider, so she waited in the market, planning to follow her home once she finished. However, after a few hours of waiting, Ada fell into a deep sleep. She woke up a short while later to find that the silent braider had left. Ada was disappointed and wondered how she had fallen asleep. She decided to try again the next night. She returned home feeling sad and went straight to bed. That night, Ada had a dream where she saw the silent braider yelling hysterically at a group of people locked in a cage. Ada woke up terrified, recognizing many of the villagers as those who had recently had their hair braided by the silent braider. She was confused and puzzled by her dream. The next morning, she arrived at the market and saw a group of women waiting to have their hair braided. Ada felt a strong urge to warn the women about her dream, but when she approached them, they dismissed her as a jealous woman who couldn't accept that people preferred the silent braider. Ada retreated to her corner, feeling terrible about what had just happened. She began to doubt herself as she watched the silent braider braid the women's hair one by one. At that moment, Ada started to believe she might indeed be jealous of the silent braider, which troubled her deeply. She decided to move to another market the following morning. As the silent braider's queue continued to grow, a young woman named Nkechi, who had been waiting for hours, finally sat down to have her hair braided. Nkechi was new to the village and searching for a good braider when she was directed to the village market. She arrived early and was surprised by the long line. She wondered why so many people were waiting for one woman while other braiders sat idle, waiting for customers. This seemed odd to Nkechi, but she decided to wait her turn. After a few hours, it was Nkechi's turn, and the braider motioned for her to sit. As the silent braider began to braid Nkechi's hair, Nkechi fell into a deep sleep and dreamt she was being dragged into a cage by the silent braider. Nkechi struggled with the braider for a while, eventually breaking free and running. As she ran, she saw many people locked in a large cage, terrifying her. She suddenly woke up from her sleep, more frightened than ever before. She wondered about the dream but remained calm, noticing that the silent braider was still working on her hair. Nkechi then reached for her purse, took out a small mirror to check her hair, and saw a horrifying monster standing behind her. Nkechi, terrified, screamed at the top of her lungs and stood up in fear.
The onlookers wondered what had happened, and before Nkechi could explain, the braider vanished into thin air. Everyone was shocked, witnessing the braider's disappearance. The people were petrified and began questioning who she was. Nkechi explained what she had seen, and no one could believe that an evil creature had been braiding their hair for months.
Nkechi, determined to uncover the truth, looked around and found the hair braider's wooden comb on the ground. She picked it up and examined it, noticing strange symbols. Sensing something unusual about the comb, Nkechi decided to seek guidance from a powerful woman. She arrived at the powerful woman's hut, holding the comb, and the woman's eyes widened in shock upon seeing it. She explained that the symbols represented a dark spirit that trapped its victims, causing them pain and suffering. The powerful woman revealed that anyone whose hair had been touched by the comb would live a life of misery and misfortune. Terrified, Nkechi asked what she could do, and the woman explained that the curse could be broken by tracing the comb's usage to the first person in the village who had their hair braided with it. The powerful woman instructed Nkechi to use the comb to loosen that person's braids, which would break the curse and free everyone. Nkechi, now knowing how to break the curse, set out to trace the comb's origins. She consulted market vendors and other hair braiders, but no one could recall the first person to sit for the silent braider. Nkechi decided to go home, feeling a strange sensation of being followed. Filled with terror, she ran home and locked herself in her hut. After a few minutes, Nkechi heard a loud bang on her door, sending shivers down her spine. Nkechi kept silent as the banging continued for a few minutes and then stopped. Still trembling with fear, Nkechi remained in her hut when she heard a voice behind her. She turned in fear and saw a pale woman standing right behind her. "Who are you, and how did you get into my hut?" Nkechi asked, her voice trembling with fear. The pale woman introduced herself as Ngozi, saying she entered through an open window. "What do you want from me?" Nkechi asked. Ngozi revealed that she was the person Nkechi had been searching for. Ngozi explained how her life had turned for the worse after the silent braider braided her hair that fateful morning. She watched helplessly as her life fell apart. Her children fell ill and died, and her husband left her, believing she was cursed. Unbeknownst to her, the silent braider was behind her misfortunes. Nkechi was relieved to have found the woman she had been looking for. She convinced Ngozi to accompany her to the powerful woman's hut. When they arrived, the powerful woman took the evil comb and began to loosen Ngozi's braids. As she did so, the evil creature appeared, and the powerful woman recited incantations while loosening the braids. With each stroke of the comb, the evil creature groaned in pain. Nkechi watched as the creature dissipated into thin air after the powerful woman finished loosening all of Ngozi's braids. Smiling, the powerful woman declared the village free from the evil creature's grip. The spirits of the innocent people once trapped by the evil braider were now liberated, and the villagers celebrated their newfound freedom. The market of Ekene, once clouded in fear and misery, thrived again as the other hair braiders regained their customers, and the village returned to its lively self. The lesson from this story is that blindly following trends without understanding them can be dangerous. We should all strive to be discerning and seek knowledge rather than following the crowd blindly. Trust your instincts and heed warning signs, as intuition is a valuable guide against danger. I hope you enjoyed the story. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment.